You know what cracks me up about home loans? This whole idea that you're buying a home. No, you're not. You're not buying a goddamn thing. You're signing a contract with a bank that says, hey, I'll work for you for the next 30 years, and in return, you'll let me live in a box that you technically own. That's not ownership. That's indentured servitude with curtains. The guy at the bank smiles at you, shakes your hand, and hands you a pen like he's doing you a favor. But all he's really saying is, congratulations, you just sold your future to me, and I'll be cashing your ass every month until you're old enough to need a nurse to wipe it. That's the truth. They don't even hide it. You get a mortgage, by the way. It comes from the Latin amor, meaning death. A mortgage is literally a death pledge. You pledge your life to the bank until you die, and they still make you feel like you're the lucky one. Look, honey, we own a house. No, honey. You don't own shit. You're squatting on the bank's property while paying protection money every month so they don't kick you to the curb. The house doesn't belong to you. It belongs to them. And they let you paint the walls beige. That's the level of control you have. Beige. And people actually fall for it. They go to the mortgage office, sit in that fake leather chair, sweating bullets in their cheap little suit. And they nod like they understand all the paperwork. You don't understand that paperwork. Nobody understands that paperwork. The lawyers who wrote it don't even understand it. You just sign it because you're afraid if you don't, you'll have to rent an apartment with noisy neighbors and cockroaches who pay more rent than you do. And the banker, he's sitting there with that smug look like a guy who knows he's about to own your grandchildren's college fund before your kid even takes his first step. You ever notice the way they frame it? The way they frame it? They say, this is your home. This is your place. This is where your family will build memories. What they don't say is that this is where you'll scream at each other over bills. Hide from the repo man and pray the roof doesn't collapse because you can't afford the deductible. They sell you nostalgia for a life you don't even have yet. They make you imagine Christmas trees in the living room, kids on the front lawn, barbecues in the backyard. But what they don't tell you is that every one of those Christmas mornings comes with a mortgage payment due the same goddamn week. You can't even enjoy unwrapping presents without hearing the faint whisper of the bank calling a Merry Christmas. Asshole, pay us. And isn't it funny how they talk about equity? Oh yeah, equity. That's a good one. They say, every month you pay, you're building equity. No, you're not. You're building a paper fantasy that disappears the second the market decides to take a nap. Equity is just imaginary money that lives in your house until a recession shows up and eats it alive. One day, your house is worth $300,000. And the next day, it's worth a tuna sandwich and a pat on the back. Equity is monopoly money for grown-ups, and the bank gets to set the rules. They say it's an investment. Yeah, an investment for them. You're not investing in a home, you're investing in keeping the bank rich. Every time you make a payment, you're buying the banker a bigger boat, a newer car, and a shinier mistress. You think you're building a future, but really, you're funding his vacation home in Florida. And the best part? He doesn't even send you a postcard. Think about it. Who else would sell you something? Keep the title for 30 years and then convince you that you're the one who owns it. If the car dealer tried that, you'd laugh in his face. Imagine buying a car where the dealer says, you can take it home, but remember, I still own it until the year 2042. And if you miss a single payment, I'll take it back, keep all the money you've given me, and sell it to someone else. You'd tell him to go fuck himself. But with a house, oh no, you nod, smile, and sign the dotted line because you've been told your whole life that this is the dream. Yeah, the dream for them. The nightmare for you. And let's talk about interest. Interest is the greatest scam ever invented by mankind. You borrow $200,000. You pay back $600,000. That's not a loan. That's robbery with paperwork. That's the kind of thing the mob used to go to jail for. Only difference is the mob wore better suits and gave you a free pizza on Friday. The bank gives you a toaster. And you know the toaster doesn't work for Hoy today! It sparks, burns your bread, and smells like melting plastic. That's your reward for a lifetime of servitude. A broken toaster and a thank you note in Comic Sans. Here's another joke. Property taxes. That's right. Even if you pay off your house, even if you actually finish the goddamn marathon, guess what? You still don't own it. You're still renting from the government. Miss your property taxes and the government swoops in and takes it away. They don't care if you lived there 50 years. They don't care if you raised your kids there. They don't care if you built the house with your bare hands. You miss the tax, they take the house and they sell it to someone else dumb enough to think they're an owner. You're not an owner. You're a guest who gets to stay as long as you keep paying the cover charge. And don't get me started on insurance. Oh yeah, the bank won't even give you the loan unless you promise to buy insurance. So not only do you have to pay the bank every month, but you also have to pay some other company to cover the bank's ass in case something happens. Notice how it's never to cover your ass. It's to cover theirs. If the house burns down, you're the one in a shelter with a sleeping bag, but the bank still gets their money. The bank never loses. You could have a flood, an earthquake, a plague of locusts, and the bank still cashes in. They're like cockroaches. Nuclear war could wipe out the planet, and somewhere a banker would still be collecting interest. What about the illusion of upgrades? People take out second mortgages to remodel the kitchen, thinking they're adding value. All you're doing is giving the bank more reasons to laugh at you. Look, this idiot borrowed another 50 grand to install granite countertops. He thinks someone's gonna pay extra for his countertops when the housing market tanks. Isn't that adorable? Granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, crown molding, none of it matters when the bank comes to take the keys. They don't care if you installed a jacuzzi, they'll just sell it to the next sucker with better credit. And the worst part is people compete over this shit. We bought a house. Oh yeah. Well, we bought a bigger house. It's a goddamn arms race of debt. Everyone flexing their mortgages like it's an accomplishment. Well, look at us. We got approved for a $400,000 loan. Congratulations, you convinced the bank you'll make a reliable servant for the rest of your life. They gave you a shackle with your name engraved on it. Wear it proudly. Wear it proudly. You ever see a mortgage burning party? Back in the day when someone finally paid off their home, they'd throw a party and burn the mortgage papers like it was a great victory. You know what that was? That was a celebration of survival. You lived long enough, worked long enough, and managed not to die before you paid off the ransom. That's not a party. That's Stockholm Syndrome. That's the slave thanking the master for finally letting him go free. Thank you, master, for letting me have the house I already paid for 10 times over. I'm so grateful. And of course, the banks have the gall to call it the American dream. That's the final insult. They take your hard work, your stress, your sleepless nights, your family arguments, and they wrap it up in a nice little bow called the dream. The dream of paying for something you don't own, can't control, and might lose at any second if the economy sneezes. That's not a dream. That's a con. The American dream is just a sales pitch with a 30-year repayment plan. So let's call it what it really is. You don't own a home, the bank owns you. You're the caretaker, the groundskeeper, the janitor. You fix the leaky roof, you mow the lawn, you clean the gutters, all for a house that isn't even yours. You're basically the unpaid help maintaining the bank's property while they rake in the profit. That's not ownership. That's slavery with a smiley face sticker. And when it's all said and done, when you finally pay it off, when you're old and broken and your back hurts too much to enjoy it, you realize you've spent your entire life chasing the illusion of ownership. You thought you owned a house, but really the house owned you, and the bank owned both. That's the big joke of home loans. They don't sell you a house, they sell you a fantasy, and you buy it with your life. You know what a mortgage really is. It's not a loan. It's a sentence. A sentence you don't serve in prison, you serve in your own living room. A sentence where the warden is the bank, the guards are the collection agencies, and your cellmate is your spouse who won't stop asking why the hell you thought crown molding was worth a second mortgage. That's what it is. It's not a house, it's a leash. You sign those papers and suddenly the rest of your life belongs to them. You don't wake up free anymore. You wake up already guilty, already owing. Already in the hole before you even put your socks on. And it's not 5 years, it's not 10 years, 30 years. You know how long that is? That's longer than most marriages, longer than most careers, longer than most people can stand the sound of their neighbor's dog. 30 years chained to a bill. That's not a loan. That's a goddamn adoption. They don't just give you money. They take you in, feed you a monthly payment plan, and raise you until you die. You're their pet, their loyal golden retriever, wagging your tail every first of the month when you drop off their treat. You don't own the house, you're just living in their kennel. And don't fool yourself, you don't get to bark, you don't get to bite, you just fetch the check. And the beautiful part is how they convince you it's your idea. I'm buying a home for my family. No, you're not, you're leasing a dream from the bank. The bank owns the title, the deed, the dirt, the roof, and the termites in the basement. The only thing you own is the stress, the ulcers, and the constant fear that if you miss one payment, you'll be back living with your mother-in-law, sleeping on a couch that smells like cabbage. That's your share of the deal. The bank owns the property, you own the panic. They sell you on this idea of stability. You'll always have a place to live. Oh yeah, you'll always have a place to live until you don't. Until you miss 2 payments, 3 payments, and suddenly the sheriff's stapling an eviction notice on the door you thought you owned. That's stability? That's like saying you've got job security at a circus until the clown union goes on strike. You're stable until you're not. And the moment you're not, they sweep in like vultures with clipboards. And isn't it funny how long the sentence is? 30 years. They don't even pretend anymore. They don't go, hey, 5 years, we'll help you out. No, they want you for life. They want you locked in generation after generation. People are born, go to school, get jobs, sign mortgages, die, and the cycle repeats. It's the circle of debt. Forget the Lion King. This is the Bank King. Instead of a Hakuna Matata, it's a pay every month, asshole. And think about the interest. The interest is what makes it a real sentence. You borrow $200,000, you pay back $500,000, $600,000, sometimes more. You're paying 2 or 3 houses for the price of one. You're basically buying a house for yourself. One for the banker and one for the banker's mistress. You're buying a whole damn neighborhood, but you get to live in just one. That's not interest, that's punishment. That's the bank saying, F for the crime of not having money. We're gonna charge you more money. It's a life sentence because it controls everything. You can't quit your job. You've got a mortgage. You can't move across the country. You've got a mortgage. You can't take a year off to find yourself. You've already been found by the bank and they've got your forwarding address. A mortgage is like a tracking device. You're not free. You're not a homeowner. You're a hostage with a doormat. Every decision you make, job, car, vacation, even how many kids to have, has to go through the filter of, but can we still make the mortgage? It's not a family decision, it's a bank decision. The bank is the third parent in your house. Hell, they're the only parent that never misses a birthday because your mortgage payment is their birthday present every month. You think you're free because you got a house? No, you're less free. You're a permanent employee of the bank and they don't even pay you. You work all day, every day, just to hand them the money you already earn. You're like a farmer growing crops you don't get to eat. You plow the field, plant the seeds, sweat in the sun, and at harvest time, you hand the whole basket to the landlord. That's what a mortgage is. Modern-day feudalism with fax machines. And don't forget, you're not just paying the bank. You're paying everyone. Property tax to the government, insurance to some guy in a polyester tie, maintenance fees to contractors, repair costs to plumbers. You're paying for heat, water, electricity, cable, phone, garbage pickup. You're paying everybody, and what do you get? You get the privilege of saying, I'm a homeowner. That's not a privilege, that's a punchline. You're basically the middleman in your own life. Everyone else is cashing in, you're just cashing out. And you notice how they never talk about the reality? They never say, hey, in the next 30 years you're gonna lose your job twice, get sick once, have 3 major car repairs and go through a divorce. But don't worry, just keep paying. No, they sell you the dream with the white picket fence, the smiling kids, the golden retriever on the lawn. Meanwhile, in reality, the fence needs painting, the kids are doing drugs, and the dog is fleas. But you're still paying, always paying. That's why it's a life sentence. You can't escape it. But you can't even sell the house without the bank's permission. Try it. You'll see. You think you're going to sell your house and make some profit? No. The bank gets paid first. Always first. You're at the back of the line at your own sale. They take their cut, and if there's anything left, you get the crumbs. You're basically working for them as their unpaid real estate agent. And the bank doesn't just own your present, they own your future. Every plan you make has to fit inside their little box. Want to retire early? Not with a mortgage. Want to take a trip around the world? Not with a mortgage. Want to start a business? Forget it. You got a mortgage. It's not just a house. It's a cage with wallpaper. You're decorating your prison cell and calling it freedom. You've got flowers on the window, a new paint job in the kitchen, maybe a big screen TV mounted on the wall, but at the end of the day, you're still serving time. And people defend it? That's the craziest part. They defend their own sentence. Well, it's better than renting. Oh, yeah. Renting's bad, but at least when you rent, you know you're being screwed. At least the landlord doesn't pretend you own the place. With a mortgage, you think you're the boss, but you're still just a tenant. Only this time, your landlord wears a suit and has a bank logo on his pen. And guess what? You're paying double for the privilege. Renting might be slavery, but at least it's short-term slavery. A mortgage is a full career in chains. They even give you different types of sentences. Fixed rate, adjustable rate, balloon payment. It's like picking which style of execution you want. Would you prefer the firing squad, the electric chair, or lethal injection? Doesn't matter what you pick, you're still dead. Fixed or adjustable, you're still paying your ass off for the rest of your natural life. And if you're really stupid, they'll throw in a balloon payment at the end. That's where they bend you over one last time just for fun. And the final insult? When you finally pay it off, when you've spent 30 years chained to the debt, sweating, worrying, sacrificing, when you finally get the title in your hand, you're too old to enjoy it. You're 70, you've got arthritis, your back hurts, your kids moved out, and the neighborhood's gone to hell. You finally own your house, and you can't climb the goddamn stairs. You worked your whole life for a place you can't even use. You finally got free, and now the graveyard is waiting. That's not freedom. That's parole, so let's face it. A mortgage isn't just a loan, it's a sentence, a life sentence. And the bank? They're the judge, the jury, and the executioner. You ever notice how they call it the American dream? That's the biggest scam of them all. It's not a dream, it's a sales pitch. It's a commercial they've been running on your brain since you were old enough to sit up in a high chair and watch Saturday morning cartoons. The American dream isn't about freedom, it isn't about opportunity, it isn't about building a better life. No, the American dream is about keeping you busy, keeping you working, keeping you borrowing, and keeping you convinced that if you just sign the right dotted line, happiness is waiting on the other side. But it's not. What's waiting on the other side is 30 years of bills, late fees, and the sweet sound of the bank licking its chops. They sell you the dream the same way used car salesman sells a lemon. This house will change your life. No, it won't. It'll change your life. They dress it up with fancy words like equity and investment and stability. You know what it really is? It's bait. A shiny hook with a piece of apple pie on it. Come on, bite it. This is the American dream. And like a bunch of hungry fish, people line up to chomp down, and before they know it, they're hanging on the line, flopping around, paying off debt for decades, wondering what the hell happened. And the funny part is, they call it the American dream like it's this exclusive deal. But everybody's got it. Everybody's chasing the same dream. You can't have a dream if it's mandatory. That's not a dream, that's a requirement. That's homework. Imagine a teacher saying everybody has to dream the same thing tonight. That's not dreaming, that's brainwashing. And this dream doesn't come for free either. No, this dream has a price tag. You want the American dream? That'll be $1,800 a month, plus interest, taxes, and closing costs. Sweet dreams, asshole. And notice how the dream is always just out of reach. They keep it dangling in front of you like a carrot on a stick. You get the job, you save some money, you sign the papers, you move in, and you think, oh, finally, I've made it. No, you haven't. You've just enrolled in the course. Now you've got 3 decades of homework. The American dream isn't about living, it's about owing. It's about keeping you on the treadmill, running and running, sweating and gasping, while the finish line keeps moving further away. And here's the kicker. It's not even your dream. It's theirs. It's the bankers, the realtors, the developers, the politicians. They invented it, they packaged it. They marketed it, and then they sold it to you. They don't chase the dream, they sell it. You're not dreaming, you're shopping. You're standing in the dream aisle at the big American supermarket, and the sign says, "One dream per customer, financing available, some restrictions apply." And just like every other product, there's fine print. Only this fine print is 30 goddamn pages long, written by lawyers who make sure you'll never understand a single word of it. And you sign anyway. Because, hey, it's the American dream. Think about how insane it is. They tell you freedom means debt. That's what it boils down to. They tell you you're free when you buy a house, but you're not free. You're chained. They tell you you're secure, but you're not secure. You're leveraged. They tell you you're a success, but the only successful part is the banker's portfolio. You don't succeed, you comply. You obey the rules, you play along, you smile through the stress, and you call it a dream because admitting it's a nightmare would be too depressing. And they've been running this con for generations. Your parents believed it, your grandparents believed it, and chances are your kids are going to believe it too. Because that's the beauty of the system. They don't just sell you a house, they sell you tradition. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what grown-ups do. You get married, you buy a house, you raise a family. But no one ever says, you get married, you buy a house, and you spend the rest of your life trying to keep the house from getting taken away. That's the part they leave out of the brochure. And the brochures are beautiful, aren't they? Smiling couples holding hands on the front porch, kids with balloons running through the yard, golden retriever wagging his tail. Not a bill in sight. Not a single foreclosure sign. Not a single guy in a suit coming to repossess the car. Not a single family screaming at each other because the mortgage is 3 months behind. Just sunshine, fresh paint, and a dog that doesn't shit on the carpet. That's how they sell you the dream. They Photoshop the misery right out of it. But the truth is, the American dream isn't about you owning a house. It's about the bank owning you. It's about the government collecting taxes from you. It's about corporations selling furniture, appliances, landscaping, and home improvement nonsense to you. The house is just the stage set. The real show is all the money flying out of your wallet every single day for the rest of your life. You think the dream is the house, but the dream is the machine that keeps you buying, keeps you paying, keeps you believing. And the funniest thing is, people brag about it. They brag about their prison sentence. We bought a house. Great. You just signed up for 30 years of indentured servitude. Yes. Hey, we're homeowners now. Know your home borrowers? You don't own it. You owe it. You owe every nail, every shingle, every brick. The only thing you own outright is the pile of junk in the garage and maybe the dog food in the pantry. Everything else belongs to the bank. But you're proud, because that's what they trained you to be. They trained you to celebrate your chains. They trained you to confuse debt with achievement. That's the real trick. And they don't stop at the house. Once you've swallowed that hook, they start selling you upgrades. The dream isn't complete unless you've got the right furniture, the right car in the driveway, the right grill on the patio. The dream is never done. It's a moving target. As soon as you think you've caught up, it shifts again. New paint colors, new flooring, new gadgets. You thought you bought a house, but what you really bought was a lifetime subscription to consumer anxiety. You're never finished, you're never satisfied, and you're never out of debt. That's the American dream. A treadmill disguised as a paradise. And if you don't play along, if you say no to the dream, people look at you like you're crazy. Or renting. What's wrong with you? You don't want to own a house. No, I don't want to be a hostage. I don't want to be a debt slave in a 3-bedroom cage with a 2-car garage. But try explaining that at a family reunion. They'll stare at you like you just spit in the apple pie. Because the dream isn't just financial, it's cultural, it's sacred. You're not allowed to question it, it's the national religion. The house is the temple, the mortgage is the hymn, and the bank is God. You miss a payment and you're excommunicated. And the cruelest part, they make you believe it's your fault if it doesn't work out. You lose the house, you go into foreclosure, you get crushed under the debt. And they tell you, well, you should have managed your money better. You should have budgeted, you should have worked harder. They never blame the system, never blame the scam, never blame the predatory lenders or the ridiculous interest rates. No, it's always you. You're the sinner and the bank is the saint. They ruined your life and you thank them for the opportunity. That's how deep the dream runs. It rewrites reality right in front of your eyes. So what is the American dream, really? It's not freedom, it's not success, it's not happiness. The American dream is a sales slogan. It's a neon sign blinking in your face saying, buy this house, buy this car, buy this life. And you obey because that's what you've been taught since birth. You obey because everybody else obeys. You obey because the dream isn't optional, it's mandatory. And by the time you figure out the joke, by the time you realize the dream is a hustle, it's too late. You're too deep in. You've signed the papers, you've made the payments, you've raised the kids, and you've spent your whole life chasing something that was never real to begin with. And that's the punchline of the American dream. It's not about achieving it. It's about chasing it. It's about keeping you running, working, owing, paying forever. You don't live the dream. You live in pursuit of it. And the only people who really get it are the ones who sold it to you in the first place. That's the American dream. For sale every day at your nearest bank.